Welcome to the Growth Room with David Daniels. Today, we're incredibly fortunate to have David Pennington, the visionary founder of Penn Coaching and Consulting. David, with his PhD from Bob Jones University, is a lauded business exit strategist, helping business owners scale with ease and sell for maximum value. Today, we'll be diving into his unparalleled approach to business consulting and exits and exploring the significant trends he's observing in the industry. David, it's a pleasure to have you. How are you today?
Doing well, David. Thanks. Good to be with you. Easy to remember your name, so that's great.
No doubt it's the name of champions, David. It's the name of champions. Can you share a little bit with the audience about your background and your role at Penn Coaching?
Yeah, sure. I'd be glad to. This is actually I call it my third career. Um, Many years ago, I started actually in ministry. That's where a lot of my years were spent. In mostly mid to larger size organizations with usually a church and private school. Some of them were pretty good size, and so a lot of administrative and team building, that kind of thing, leadership role. Then I shifted to more private education. I think I've been a head of school of, I don't know, five, six schools, executive director of a state group with 37 schools in it, president of a state group on a national board, adjunct prof. So a lot of experience in private education, administration, primarily once again. And then about 10 years ago, I started Penn Coaching and Consulting. I went through some training, got certified as a coach. I joined a friend's firm for a couple years just to kind of keep my feet wet. And then I
Right.
decided I really wanted to go out on my own. And so I started primarily in the leadership development space. I mean, that's really what I had done most of my life is I always say help get the right people on the bus and then help them get in the right seat on the bus and then kind of lean in and develop them. I think a lot of leaders sort of assume that people will develop themselves. I found that they will to a certain extent, but if you really want them to grow to maximum capacity, you have to kind of lean in as an owner and really invest in them and develop them. So I did a lot with leadership, still do that in leadership. Then I sort of iterated to more focusing on scaling. Um, I've always been really good with organizational structure and how to structure an organization so that it has the capacity to grow. I find most leaders do a couple things. Number one, they're too spread. What I mean by that is they're doing too many things.
Right.
And then often they're working more in their weaknesses than what they are their strengths. So whenever I meet with a leader, I have some assessments that I use, but I try to help a leader understand what I call his zone of genius. Whatever it is, what do you love doing? What are you really good at doing? Some people know automatically, other people don't really know. And so I have to kind of help them figure that out. And then I try to position them where they actually are working about 80% of the time in their strengths.
Nice.
If you work in your strengths and you like doing it and you're good at doing it, you're going to be successful because you're just good at doing it. And then there will always be some gaps. So from there, I say, okay, now that we've got you positioned properly, who else do you need on your team? I help them build what I call a complementary dream team. And I usually
Nice.
word it something like this. Believe it or not, there are actually people that love doing what you hate doing, and they're really good at it. You need to find those
Right.
people and get them on your team. Um,
No doubt.
and then about a year and a half ago, I made another iteration. I found that the coaching space kind of got noisy. If you're familiar with the marketing phrase red ocean, blue ocean, it became red
Right.
ocean. Lots of sharks, lots of people jumping in, lots of noise, lots of activity. And so I wanted something to sort of differentiate myself. And I began to research some, and I came across something called the silver tsunami, which is a phenomenon that's taking place with boomers. Many of them are getting toward the end of their career, and they estimate in the next 3 to 5 years that the boomers are going to exit their companies, and somewhere around $10 trillion dollars with a T is going to change hands. And that
Right.
many of those boomers don't really have an exit strategy or an exit plan. And so I got certified in valuations and acquisitions. And so I've been focusing on really the exit component of late. I still do some leadership things, still do some structural organizational things that will help scale, but I'm primarily focusing upon the exit strategy right now to try to help business owners position themselves where their value is high and their sellability is attractive to buyers.
No doubt, no doubt. Is there a big market out there as far as buyers for a lot of these businesses
The,
that you're
yeah, there actually are
selling?
a lot of interested buyers. Uh, but often what happens, and I tell owners all the time this, look, when you get ready to sell your business, you have to look at your business like a buyer, not a seller.
Right,
As a seller, we look at it and think, well, I spent 20 years or 25 years developing this. I did this and I did this. I'm really proud of what I did. And boy, we've accomplished a lot. And all the blood, sweat, and tears and connections emotionally and all that. That's what we look at. But that's not what the
right.
buyer looks at all. And so you have to kind of put your thinking cap on and shift the way you think. So you're thinking more like a buyer versus a seller when you get ready to sell.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. What does a typical day look like for you?
I'm kind of a morning person, so I get up early. I do what I call my deeper work in the morning up to about 11 a.m. Usually around 11, I will exercise. I have a very 6 day route, 6 days a week. I exercise, so I'm
Nice,
really consistent about it. And then I usually shower, get lunch, and then the afternoon is when I will have meetings and that kind of thing. So really by noon, pretty much my day, the bulk of my important work is already done, and in the afternoon I have for clients and other meetings that I attend or take part in.
nice. You're getting up at 4 o'clock to do that, right?
No, not that early. More
Not
like,
quite.
yeah, more like 6:30-ish. Uh,
Okay,
you know,
I
but
meant.
I work pretty fast and I'm pretty focused in the morning. I don't take a lot of meetings in the morning. Rare for me to have meetings in the morning. So I don't shower, shave or anything. I mean, I just get up and usually have some casual clothes on and just go at it hard till about 11, and then I can exercise. That kind of helps me with energy and just health. And then get lunch, and I'm ready to go for the rest of the day.
Nice. I'm with you, David. I guess maybe it's a Dave thing. It's we like to get up early and get it done,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
move on after that. So that's good. What major shifts are you seeing in the coaching or consulting industry right now?
Well, really, it's kind of noisy to me still. I mean, a lot of people are jumping in. I think some people are sort of scrambling to know. There's so many types of coaching. You have life coaching and business coaching and career coaching and I mean, there's a lot of. So I really I think it's I think a lot of coaches, one of the best things you can do, you tend when you come in and you start to coach, you tend to be broad.
Hmm.
You kind of want to help everybody.
Right,
But you quickly find out when you try to help everybody, it's hard to differentiate yourself. You're better usually to have a narrow niche or niche, depending on how you want to pronounce
right,
it. I
right,
always say it this way. I put it in the medical terms. Um, if you're going to start a coaching practice, you need to be very specific. The more specific you are within general, within reason, the better. Okay. Think of it like being an orthopedic surgeon. If I have something wrong with my knee, I'm not usually going to go to my general practitioner because he's going to charge me 150 or $200 for him to tell me, hey, you've got a problem with your knee. You need to see an orthopedic guy. I'm
right.
just going to, if I can, if my insurance allows me to, I'm just going to go straight to the orthopedic guy because I already know what my problem is and I already know who can help me. And so I'm not going to waste time with my general practitioner.
No
And I
doubt.
think as a coach, the more specific you are, where you're in a area where people, and there are two things I think are important. They have a problem, that's important, but even more important, they know they have a problem. Now,
Right.
sometimes people have a problem, but they don't know they have a problem.
That's
So
true.
as a coach, you've got to convince them they have a problem. You've got to convince them you can help them with that problem. So it's kind of like a double sale.
Right,
It's harder. But if they
right,
have a problem and they know they have a problem, they're already kind of looking for a solution. And then it just comes down, do they know, like, and trust you, feel like you're competent, you can help them, and can they afford you? And it makes it a
right.
lot simpler.
No doubt, no doubt. And I imagine with that shift in the industry, that's probably the reason why you started focusing more on the exit strategy.
Yeah.
Do you see a whole bunch of competition there?
Well,
Because
there's
honestly, I come
competition.
across a bunch of coaches, and you're the first one that I've
Yeah.
seen that focuses on that.
Most of the competition is not true parallel to
Mhm.
what I'm doing. There are a lot of what you would call like mergers and acquisition type companies, or people
Gotcha.
help you with the transaction of selling your company,
Right.
but they don't typically help you with getting prepared to sell your company.
Right.
They'll just help you get an understanding of what it's worth, try to find a buyer. That's how they make their money. The way I make my money is I help you prepare before you ever go to the guy who's going to help you find the buyer, so that you're actually restructuring and organizing your company so your value goes way up,
Right.
and also your attractiveness to buyers goes way up. So that way you get your high price,
Right.
and you get someone who's really interested in your company because you've already taken the 12 to 18 to 24 months that's really necessary to prepare your business before you ever actually go out to try to sell your business.
No doubt. I imagine another part of preparing the boomers as far as selling their businesses is also the human side of it as far as life after selling.
Yep.
How do you go about helping them with that?
What's interesting, I have actually three assessments that I can use in this space. One of them, the first one, actually helps you understand how much your company's worth. So you get a
Hmm.
pretty good understanding. You get a range and then a median of how much the company's worth based upon industry standard. And so that's very helpful because most people, they don't really know how much their company's worth, what it would sell for. So that's a good assessment. That's kind of an interesting one because the report you get, there are several reports, but the one I like the most is it's based upon 8 metrics, and it
Hmm.
has these little buttons. So you'll get your report up at the top. It'll say, let's say your company's worth $1 million or whatever, okay. And then these 8 buttons are measuring what that $1 million is based upon. And you can literally touch a button and then move it up. It gives you a score from 0 to 100. So let's say if you come in at a 42 and you want to move it up to like a 70 or 80, as you're
Hmm.
moving it up, the value of your company right before your eyes goes, it just kind of it goes up because you're
Nice.
improving your company. And you can do that with each of those 8 metrics. So that's a really helpful assessment. The
Right.
second one, kind of addressing what you're talking about now, is what we found was a lot of people get ready to sell their company, or I should say, get their company ready to sell, but they haven't thought about themselves.
Right.
So this assessment helps you to sort of look at your transition and your destination for where you're going once you sell. And I usually word it this way to sellers: look, you need to focus more about what you're going to versus what you're coming from,
Right.
and be thinking about it. Now, some people sell and they take the proceeds and start another business. Some
Right.
people sell and they take the proceeds and retire. Okay, so there's different reasons or different destinations that they're going, but it's one that helps you just to pause and think about, hey, what am I going to do once I've sold my business? Well, what am I going to? And then the last assessment is, okay, how, when you walk away with that chunk of cash, whatever it is, particularly if you're thinking about retirement, how adequate is that chunk of change for you to be able to retire at the level you want to retire at? So they're kind of
Right.
three assessments, and when you put them all together, it gives the seller a really good picture of what's going on.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay. Focusing on the business again. Tell me, Dave, what's working well for you right now? And possibly, what's the most frustrating part of the business right now?
Well, I'm developing some new opportunities. I just and actually launched a recent quiz. So it's a nurturing tool, if you want to say it that way, where people can think a little bit about their business and what's going well in their business. It evaluates things based upon those 8 metrics I talked about. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to do more to kind of warm up to potential clients.
Right.
Now, sometimes I get referrals. I get, that's really a good way to connect initially, but I'm trying to reach out more. I really have more what I would call a boutique coaching consulting company. I
Right.
often compare myself to like a concierge doctor. And what I mean by that is, you have a lot of doctors that get tired of I'll call it the medical system, because they don't feel like they can care for their clients very well or their patients very well.
Right.
And so they will leave the system and create their own practice where they might have 100 patients who
Hmm.
pay them a monthly stipend, and that doctor is completely dedicated to those 100 patients. And so any problem you have, that doctor will, examine or refer you or run interference for you or set you up with other doctors or whatever's needed. So it's very customized.
Right.
And that's really for me. Number one, I don't want a lot of clients at this stage of my life because I've
Right.
had a couple careers. I want to have a little bit more of a lifestyle. Um, but I also want to invest myself more deeply with the clients that I have.
No
So
doubt.
for me, believe it or not, if I have 12 clients a year, that's my max,
Right.
and that's all I'm interested in. But I want a little bit higher end clients. That like my most recent client that I have acquired has four businesses,
There you go.
and he's in the process of sort of downsizing a little bit and restructuring some and kind of figuring out where he wants to go for the future. And so someone like that is an ideal client for me. And
Right.
so that's really what I'm focusing on. Always the challenge is finding that type client, uh,
Right.
someone who really understands the value of what you can bring. Um, I don't know if you're how familiar you are with like valuations, but they're
Yeah.
typically what's called multiples.
Right.
Yep. So let's say your company's worth $1 million. A normal multiple will usually be about 2.5 to 3. So if you have $1 million coming in, your company is going to be worth about $3 million.
Right.
But if you structure it right and you set it up properly, that multiple can go up to a 6 or a 7.
There you
So
go.
now you have $1 million company that might be worth $6 or $7 million. So it can
Right.
make a huge difference if you know how to structure it where it's both valuable and attractive to buyers.
Nice.
And so getting before the right people who value that, understand that, appreciate that, and really understand how much you can help them, position themselves to sell at a high value.
No doubt. No doubt. Within the business, what metrics are you most focused on improving right now, would you say?
I think just getting, I will call it deeper um, relationships and contacts with people that really are in the space that I want to serve.
Right.
And I don't know how you work things, in your company, but I'm a little picky about the people I work with because my engagements are longer. They might
Right.
be a year or 2 years. And so one of the things, and I tell them right up front, I said, I know you're kind of checking me out, but understand I'm kind of checking you out too.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to take this journey together, we kind of got to want to work together. We got to kind of
Right.
like each other. Um, and sometimes I can almost tell immediately, nah, this is not someone I want to work with for 12 months or 24 months.
Right.
And I'm looking for a way to say that nicely, and kind of say, yeah, I just don't think it's quite the right fit or whatever. So that's a very important thing to me,
Right.
to make sure that I really enjoy working with the people. Because another way of explaining it is I function like what I call a non-equity strategic partner.
Hmm.
So I don't have any equity in their company, but I function very much like a partner would.
Right.
Someone to bounce things off of, to help kind of guide in the journey. In fact, sometimes I say it this way: look, when you own a company or a business, you got to talk to someone. You can't just talk to anyone. And let's be honest, if you're married, your spouse is tired of hearing about it
Right.
because it's in your head all the time. It's all you think about. It's all you talk about. It's like, can't we talk about anything else? You go out to dinner and you start talking business, and you're like, can't we
Right.
talk about anything else?
No doubt.
So I become that strategic partner, non-equity strategic partner that someone can really take the journey, the entrepreneurial journey, particularly as they get toward the end of the business and prepare to sell it.
Yeah, to me, that's the only way that you should do business these days is really to partner with everybody to help, do your part to help their business thrive. So I totally get that. Last question. If you had a magic wand just to fix just one thing in the business that might be slowing you down at all, what would it be?
I think just what I'm working on right now, which is getting a higher level of connection with the right potential clients.
Right,
The what I call a little higher tier of business owner.
right,
Um, I find that, I mean, I don't know how much coaching you've done or with whom, but I find when I get with the right clients, they're frankly a lot easier to work with.
no doubt.
They're not so dollar conscious about every little thing.
Right.
They take action. That's another important thing to me, that they're willing to take action. I don't have to chase them. Now, I always say, look, I'll chase you a little bit, but I don't want to spend my life chasing you. You
Right.
know, sometimes they'll say, well, I want to do this. And then we meet and they're like, they're way over here on the back 40 somewhere. I said, look, what are you doing over
Right.
there? You said you wanted to do this. Get back over here.
That's
So I'll
it.
do a little of that. But when it becomes where I feel like I'm chasing them all the time, then usually I'm saying, look, I don't think this is going to work because
Right.
you said this, but you're not really that focused. And you got to want this more than I want this, or it's not going to work.
Right. Right. Man, that's awesome. I think the way that you do business, David, is very similar to myself. And anytime you're straightforward and honest and upfront with people, I think that's the best way to go. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's about investing in people.
Right.
I've always been a very big people person. And I feel like that, hey, I really care about this person. I really want to invest myself in this person and in his company or her company. And, I think people can tell when you're sincere and genuine and authentic. And I
Right.
think they can tell when you're not as well.
No
Um,
doubt.
so to me, it's more than about the money. It's about the impact. It's about the opportunity to help that person and really make a difference in his life or her life, and in the difference of all the people that are in that company as well.
No doubt. No doubt. Couldn't have said it better myself. Really appreciate it. Well, David, thank you for sharing your insights and really appreciate you being on the growth room today. Thank you.
Well, David, I appreciate that. And, if anybody has any interest, I'd love to have a conversation. You can reach me at Dave at Penn Coaching, Penn coaching.com, or just check out my website, Penn Coaching, Penn coaching.com.